Okay, so today we will discuss about the land capability and its classification. Okay, so what do you mean by the land capability? Land capability means it indicates the type of the land which are suitable for a particular type of uh, cultivation. Okay, that is known as the land capability, ability of the land to for cultivable. Okay, for cultivation purpose. So that is known as the land capability. So this land capability plays a vital role in deciding the land use. And if you define the land capability, then you can say that the land capability, this is the ability of the land surface to support natural plant growth or wildlife habitat or artificial crop growth or human habitat. Thus, it indicates the type of the land used. Okay, so that is suitable over a particular type of land. Okay, so this is one type of the land use. This is the classification of land that is suitable for various activities. Like some land is suitable for human habitation. Some particular land is suitable for only agriculture purpose. Okay, that is more fertile land that is suitable for the agriculture purpose. Some type of land are suitable for the pasture, charaga. Okay, some land are suitable for the forest area. Okay, some land are suitable for the wildlife habitat. So according to the this use, the land is classified. Okay, so different types, different land have different capabilities depending on the land characteristics like slope of the land, soil type, soil depth, and erosion condition. If certain land characteristics are not conducive for agriculture, it is desirable to utilize or ensure the continuity of that land area for other land uses, as mentioned earlier. Okay. Now, the classification of land capability, how you can classify the different land. Okay. So, land capability is classified broadly into two groups. Okay, based on the ability of cultivation of the land. Okay, the first group is known as the group 1 land, whereas the second group is known as the group 2 land. Okay, so in group 1 land, this group consists of all the land which are suitable for cultivation. Means this type of land is very fertile. That is, that land comes under the group 1 land. Whereas the second group, group 2 land, these groups consist of all the land which are unsuitable for cultivation. Okay, and this type of land comes under the group second land. Okay, so mainly two broad classification is there: group 1 land and group 2 land. In the group 1 land, all the land will be suitable for the cultivation, whereas for the group 2 land, the land the land will be not suitable for the cultivation. This is unsuitable for the cultivation. Okay, and also like in the group 1 land, group 2 land, all these broad classification under this, there are more 4 classes. Okay, each of these two groups are further classified into 4 classes. Group 1 land comprise land class 1 to 4. Okay, means in the group 1 land, the 4 class will be there, whereas in the second land, in the second group second land, also 4 classes will be there. So group 1 land class 1, class 2, class 3, class 4. Okay, whereas the group 2 land, the similar, the class 5th, class 6th, class 7, and class 8. Okay, these classes of land will be there in the group 2 land that are not cultivable. Okay, so group 1 land, land class 1 to 4, these lands are cultivable. You can grow crops, you can do agriculture. Okay, whereas in the group 2 land, from 5th to 8th class, this is non-cultivable. Okay, so this is the broad classification of the land. Okay, now we will see one by one. So first group is group 1 land. Okay, so these groups are suitable for the cultivation. So first class is class 1 land. So this type of land, okay. So first class is class 1 land. This type of land are nearly level with slope generally within 1%. Okay, slope is nearly within less than 1%. The soil of this land are deep, fertile, easily workable, and are not subjected to damaging overflow. There are hardly any restriction or limitation for their use. These lands are very good lands which can be safely cultivated by using any farming method to grow any crops. Okay. However, proper crop rotation and green manure use should be followed to maintain soil fertility. Okay, so this is the class 1 land. Um, uh, this type of land is nearly level land. Slope is less than 1%, and soil is very fertile, deep, easily workable, and runoff will be not be so much. It is not subjected to damaging overflow. Okay, and these are hardly any restriction or limitation for their use. These lands are very good lands which can be safely cultivated by using any farming method. Okay, no need of any conservation measures are required in this type of land. Okay, with the help of any farming method, you can grow your crops. The second class of this land is class 2nd land. So this land has some slope. That slope should be in the range of 1 to 3%. Okay, they can be easily cultivated with some conservation practices. In the class 1 land, there is no need of any conservation practices, but in the this type, second class, some conservation practices are required because some slopes is there. If you don't provide the conservation measures, then runoff will be more and soil erosion will take place. So that's why um, some conservation practices are required in this type of land. Those conservation practices include contour farming, strip cropping, bund construction, or terracing. Okay, so this is the class 2 land. Class third land, now the slope will be increased slightly. Here, these lands generally have slope in the range of 3 to 5% and therefore have severe limitations which further reduce the crop choice or require a special conservation practices like contour farming, strip cropping, cover cropping, bund construction or terracing. Okay, so land in this class have more restrictions than those in the class second because here slope is more. Okay, all the limitations of class second land are applicable in this land in this class also, but to a greater extent. Okay, so this is the class third land. Now class fourth land. So class fourth land, these land have fairly good soil, having shallow soil depth and low fertility, and generally have somewhat steep slopes in the range of 5 to 8%. Okay, therefore they have either very severe limitations that largely restrict the crop choice or require very careful management or both. The land in this class may be suitable only for 2 or 3 common crops which build and maintain the soil, like the fully covering pasture with occasional grain crops which can be grown usually once in the 5 years. Okay, so this is the uh, land class under the group 1 land. Here you have seen class 1 land, class 2 land, class 3 land and class 4 land. Class 1 land, if you talk regarding to the slope, then class 1 land have slope less than 1%, class 2 land having slope uh, more than 1% but less than 3%, class third land having slope more than 3% but less than 5%, whereas the class fourth land, the slope of the land is more than 5% but less than 8%. Okay, and similarly, if the slope will be increased, then you need some conservation practices to grow the crops. Okay, so the more conservation practices is required in the class 4 land, and no conservation practices is required in class 1 land. Okay, and also the class 1 land is very fertile land. Okay, there are no any other high-tech farming method is required for the class 1 land. Okay, but as the class is increasing, you require some scientific cultivation by constructing the some conservation measures. Okay, so these are the class land classes under the group 1 land which are suitable for fully cultivation or partial cultivation. Okay, comes now come to group 2 land. Group 2 land, these lands are generally not suitable for cultivation. Okay, these lands are not suitable for cultivation. So under these groups, first class is class 5th land. Okay, class 5th land, class 6, class 7, class 8. These are the class of land under this group. Okay. So class 5th land, these lands generally have slope in the range of 8 to 12%. Okay. They usually have no to little erosion, uh, but have other limitations which restrict their use mainly to pasture, forest, wildlife food, and cover. Okay, so in this type of land, controlled grazing is allowed. Controlled grazing may be permitted. Okay. So in the class 5th land, the slope of the land is more than 8% but less than 12%. So in this type of land, erosion takes place, but not much more. Okay, you have, if you apply some conservation measures, then you can check the soil erosion. Okay, So some limitation is there in this type of land. That's why this type of land is mainly suitable for the pasture, forest, wildlife food, and cover. Okay. And in this type of land, controlled grazing is allowed. Now next, the class 6 land. So the land in this class have shallow soils and generally have quite steep slopes, that is ranging to 18%. Okay, they have severe limitations which restrict their use to pasture with very limited grazing, woodland, wildlife food, and cover. Okay, so class 6 land having slope more than 12% but less than 18%. Okay, the slope is more. So in this type of land, they have severe limitation. Okay, so there will be restriction over to pasture. Okay, because there will be limited grazing, limited woodlands, wildlife food and cover, etc. Now come to the class 7th land. Okay, so the land in this class are generally eroded, rough, having shallow soil depth and steeper slopes ranging to 25%. The soil in this type of land is swampy or drought prone with all the limitations of class 6 land even to a higher degree. If there is good rainfall, they may be used for forestry with fully green cover, okay, gully control structures and severely restricted grazing. Okay. So in the class 7th land, the slope of the land is more than 18% but less than 25%. Okay, so here you are seeing that the slope is more, so there will be more soil erosion, gully formation will be more, gully erosion will be more. Okay, the soil will be the swampy or drought prone. So if there is a good rainfall in this type of land, then in that condition they may be used for the forestry, but also there should be a uh, 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 good gully control structure should be developed in that land. Okay, so that you can minimize the soil erosion. Now next is class 8 land. Okay. So these lands are rough with probably the worst soil types and possibly the steepest slopes in excess of 25%. They can only be used with very sound gully control structure for forest if conducive for tree growth and also for wildlife habitat. However, tree felling and grazing should be strictly avoided. Okay. So in the class 8 land, the slope of the land is more than 25%. More slope is there, so more soil erosion will take place. Okay. So this type of land can only be used if you have the sound gully control structure in that area. Otherwise, you can't grow anything in that area. Okay. And however, in this type of land, the tree felling and grazing should be strictly avoided, because if you allow the grazing, then vegetation area will be decreased, and if the vegetation area will be decreased, then soil erosion will more. Okay. So these are the classification of soil, classification of land. Mainly, there are two types of land. The first is the group 1 land and second one is the group 2 land. Group 1 land is suitable for the cultivation and group 2 land is non-suitable for the cultivation. Okay. Class, the slope of the group 1 land will vary from 0% to 8%. Okay. Whereas the slope of group 2 land is more than 8%. Okay, so that's why in the group 1 land there is very little requirement of some conservation practices, conservation measures. Okay, but in the group 2 land, the conservation measures should be more. Okay. In the group 1 land, class 1 land having slope of less than 1%, class 2 land having slope of more than 1% but less than 3%, class 3 land having slope 3% to 5%, class 4 land having slope 5% to 8%. Okay. Whereas the class 5th land having slope 8 to 12%, class 6th land having slope more than 12% but less than 18%, class 7th land having slope uh, more than 18% but less than 25%, whereas class 8 land having slope more than 25%. Okay, so these are the classification of land. Okay, now we will see the effect of physical properties on watershed management. So what are the physical properties of the watershed? Like the physical properties are size of the watershed, shape of the watershed, topography of the watershed, drainage of the watershed, area of the watershed, and length of the watershed, slope of the watershed. Okay, so these are some physical properties. So here we will see what are the effect of these physical properties on watershed management. Okay, so first property is size. So size of watershed determine the quantity of rainfall received, retained, and disposed of. A small watershed is pronounced by overland flow, which is main contributor to result of peak flow. While a large watershed has no overland flow significantly, but channel flow is the main characteristic. Okay, so if there is a small watershed, then there will be more runoff, more flood will be there. But in the large watershed, there is no so much runoff will be there. Okay, so in the large watershed, channel flow is the main characteristic. Okay, large watershed are also affected by basin storage. Watershed size plays a role here as it interacts with the extent of land use changes as well as factors that affect weather and climate. In a smaller watershed, the predominant interaction is between weather scale runoff causing event and the storm hydrograph. Whereas in large watershed, the predominant interaction is between climate scale runoff causing event and annual hydrograph. Okay, so these are the effects of the size on watershed. Now, second property is shape. Okay, so larger the watershed, higher is the time of concentration. Okay, time of concentration means it is the time required to run over the watershed area from the beginning to the outlet. Okay, so if there is large watershed, then higher will be the time of concentration and more water will infiltrate into the soil. Okay, evaporate or get utilized by the vegetation also. So reverse is the situation when watershed is shorter in length as compared to width. The shape of the land determined by geology and weather greatly influence drainage pattern. Third physical properties of watershed which affect the watershed management is topography. So topography means what? Topography means topographic configurations such as slope, length, degree, and uniformity of slope. This comes under the topography. Okay, so these parameters affect both disposal of water and soil loss. Okay, so time of concentration and infiltration of water are thus a function of degree and length of slope of the watershed. Fourth physical properties are drainage. Okay, so topography regulates the drainage density, length, width, depth of the main and subsidiary channel, main outlet, and its size depend on the topography. Drainage pattern affect the time of concentration. A watershed with a high drainage density is characterized by quick response. Further, drainage cross-section information is needed to determine the extent of flooding during high flow. Fifth physical characteristics which affect the watershed management is area of the watershed. So this area of the watershed is also known as the drainage area. And this is the most important watershed characteristics for hydrological analysis. It reflects the volume of water that can be generated from a rainfall. Okay. Determination of a workable size of the watershed area is important for a successful watershed management program. So this area also affects the watershed management. Now, the other physical properties which affect the watershed management is length of the watershed. Okay. So length of watershed means this is the distance traveled by the surface drainage and sometimes more appropriately labeled as hydrological length. So this length is usually referred for computing a time parameter, which is a measure of the travel time of water through a watershed. In other words, we can say the time of concentration. So the watershed length is therefore measured along the principal flow path from the watershed outlet to the basin boundary. Since the channel does not extend up to the basin boundary, it is necessary to extend a line from the end of the channel to the basin boundary. Now, the next physical parameter which affect the watershed management is slope of the watershed. Okay, so watershed slope affect the momentum of runoff. If there will be the more slope in that watershed area, then more runoff will be takes place. More soil erosion may be there if you don't, if there is no any conservation measures are there. Okay, so both watershed and channel slope may be of interest. Watershed slope reflect the rate of change of elevation with respect to the distance along the principal flow path. This is the slope. Slope is equal to the change of elevation, which means elevation difference between divided by the length of the channel. That will give the slope of watershed. Okay, so it is usually calculated as the elevation difference between the end point of the main flow path divided by the length of the watershed. Okay, it will give the slope of the watershed. So these are some physical characteristics, some physical properties on watershed management. Okay, the effect of the size on watershed management, effect of size, effect of shape, effect of topography, effect of drainage, effect of area, effect of length, and effect of the slope of the watershed on watershed management. Okay. Now here are some So here are some questions related to this topic. You have to, if you go through these questions, then your concept will be more clear. Okay. So first question is, class 4th type land are, the options are, this type of land are suitable for cultivation, this type of land are not suitable for cultivation, this type of land are partially suitable for cultivation, or none of the above. Okay, so class 4 type land are suitable for cultivation, not suitable for cultivation, partially suitable for cultivation, yeah, none of the above. So you have seen there are two groups of the land classification. First group is group 1 land and second is the group second land. Under the group 1 land, there are four class 1, class 2, class 3, class 4. And this type of land are suitable for cultivation. Okay, so as the slope will be increased, then its suitability will be decreasing. Means class 1 land is more suitable, class 2 land is less suitable than class 1 land, whereas class third land is less suitable for class than class 1 land. Okay, like as the slope will be increasing, the suitability will be decreased. Okay, or in other words, you can say these lands are suitable but partially. So the here class 4th land, here slope is more. So here the these type of lands are suitable for cultivation but partially. So correct option is partially suitable for cultivation. Okay. So similarly, the second question is which one of the following is not the characteristics of class 1 land? Okay. The first option is class 1 land, means class 1 land falls under the group 1 land. Okay, this is the first class. So here slope is very less. Also, this is the most suitable for cultivation, this type of land. So here, what are the characteristics of class 1 land? First option is these lands are safely cultivated by using any farming method. Yes, this is true. The soil are fertile. Yes, soil is fertile. It is also true. The land slope are more than 1%. Okay. So land slope are more than 1%. It seems it is not correct because class 1 land the slope is less than 1%. Okay, and here question is asking what is the note the characteristics of the class 1 land. So correct option is C. This is the note the characteristics of class 1 land. Okay, now come to the here. The land capability classification consists of how many class? Land capability classification. There are two groups, group 1 land and group 2 land. In each group, there are 4 classes. Okay, so land capability classification consists of how many class? 8 class. In each group, 4 class. So total groups is 2. So the correct is 8. Class 1 land, class 2 land, class 3, class 4, class 5, class 6, class 7, class 8. Okay, so the correct option is C. Similarly, the other question, what is the characteristics of class 3 land? Okay, so here the slope in the range of 3 to 5%. C, class 1 land slope is less than 1%. Class 2 land slope is more than 1% but less than 3%. Class 3 land slope more than 3% but less than 5%. So this is the correct option. Okay, first is correct. Now see the second option, requires special conservation practices. Since slope is more than 3%, so some conservation practices is required. Okay, not more, some special conservation practices are required, like control farming will be there. Okay, a strip cropping should be there. So this type of conservation practices should be there in the class 3 land. So here the correct option is both of these. Okay. Now let us see The question number 6. Which of one of the following land class has a steepest slope? More slope, steepest slopes. Which one? Class 3rd land, class 4th land, class 6th land, and class 8th land. As the class is increasing, the slope will be more. So the correct option is class 8 land. Okay, this is the last class. So this class will contain the steepest slope. Okay. Similarly, the seventh question, tick the correct option. You have to tick down the correct option. Class 2nd land, 6% slope. It is wrong. Class 2nd land, how much slope is there? More than 1%, but less than 3%. Here is 6%. This is incorrect. Class 4th land, slope is 7%. Class 1 land, less than 1%. Class 2 land, 3 to 5%. Okay. And class 3rd land, 5 to 7%, and class 4th land 7%. Okay, it is correct. And class 6th land, 25% slope. No, 25% slope is the biggest slope, and this slope contains this type of land is in class 8 land. Okay, so class 6 land will be not 25% slope. It is incorrect. So correct option is class 4th land. Okay. Now other question. Which one of the following land class have worst soil type? सबसे खराब किसका soil होता है? So obviously the class 8 land. Okay, there no any crops are grown in the class 8 land. So this is the worst soil type. Now this is the area of the basin divided by the square of the axial length of the basin is called form factor. Okay. The first order streams are defined as those channels that have no tributaries. We have seen in the last class this type of questions. Drainage density is length of the drainage per unit area. Okay, so these are the questions you should attempt this one. Yes, which type of watershed are less sensitive to high intensity rainfall of short duration? Okay, so this is the high. If the area large, if the area of the watershed is more, large area of the watershed is there, then this type of watershed is less sensitive to high intensity rainfall. The main objective of watershed is to increase the infiltration rate of rainwater. Yes, it is true. To check the soil erosion. Yes, it is also true. To utilize runoff water for useful purpose. Yes, runoff water is collected at a single point, and that water is used for the some useful purpose. Okay. So here correct option is all of these. Okay. So these are the some questions related to this topic.